Summer has finally arrived. Tents are being pitched and trails explored. It's a time of year where we try and really touch the natural world. But sometimes we find the things that haunt the wild, that creep in the darkest parts of the wood. Sometimes those things want to touch us back, and sometimes not let go. From disembodied hands skittering through your tent, to 10-foot-tall mimics eerily beckoning from the tree line. On this episode of Belief Hole, we open the gates and ignite the fire as we welcome you back home to the grounds of Camp Creeply.
Conspiracy, synchronicity, Sasquatch, homunculus, alien races, Satanism in Hollywood, MK Ultra, Tartaria.
There's like a whole. I've been watching this one guy.
Close the door, Jeremy! Close your door!
What's the
Inner Earth Disagreements.
Ghost Dad?
I like that movie. Dogman, Bohemian Grove, Magicians Are Demons, Specters, Spirit Summonings, Paralysis, Strange Disappearances, Sky Whale Phenomenon, Alternative History, Shadow People. Shh, quiet! I'm trying to say words with my mouth. It's getting dicey out there. Poltergeists.
That's cool.
Anunnaki. What is the moon? Elf Towers.
I would never talk about it. That's old.
Y2K. Cover-ups. Apocalyptic catastrophe. Vampire.
Well, hello.
Well, hello, guys. How are you doing?
Howdy, campers.
Yes.
Good to see you.
Welcome to be here.
I'm Chris,
I'm John.
And I'm Jeremy.
and today we are hitting that dusty trail with our backpacks on because we are going to be exploring some strange camping stories.
Awesome. Good time of year to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, this is our first installment of the season. I think we might do... I feel like camping stories are good for when you start off the summer, and then as the summer is crisping up towards the end and the leaves start to curl.
As autumn comes in, yes.
Well, we're still in mid-June.
Yes, this is why this is the first installment.
This is why the gates of Camp Creeply are creaking open today.
It's good. Yeah, you're right. We're leading into that summertime, and before we know it, it's going to be heading into fall and the spooky season. So
Life's going so fast.
Slow it down. Slow it down.
Season after season. But yeah, this is the time to enjoy, I think, some of these strange tales.
where do you guys like to go camp, listeners?
I don't know if you're asking us. Yes, listeners.
You don't camp really, so
It's been a while.
There's too many bears out
There's
there.
not enough outlets for our editing devices.
I know, right?
That is my dream, though, to one day have an RV where we can camp and do Camp
Where
Creeply.
we never have to stop working.
Do Camp Creeply for real in the campground. That's my hope.
Chris, you lived in a campground for a while
I did. It was very relaxing and very stressful at the same time.
and very spider-oriented.
A lot of spiders, but the feeling of waking up in the morning to rainfall on your old RV in the middle of the woods, it's just a wonderful, birds landing on your windowsill. It's very,
I miss that RV.
it's very Disney in the best kind of way.
Yeah.
During the good parts. The sad parts are when you're drinking alone in the evening by yourself trying to...
That can happen.
Make yourself tired.
Try to remember that you're not alone, even though you are.
You don't live in an RV.
And it's not just you and 1,000 wolf spiders.
Yes. Oh, that reminds me, John. And listeners out there, if you're interested, I'll have to drop a link in. But did have some creepy experiences out there in the RV. And John, you had an experience walking past the RV before I had moved it into the campground. The thing that fell out of the tree, I'll put a link into that. That was pretty monstrous.
Do you remember that, John?
No.
You don't remember
this?
No.
Oh man, we need a producer. Play it back for John. It's so great.
But we have some great stories today, so we should probably start the fire.
Yeah, let's light up those embers.
We didn't start the fire.
But we have. So let's get into it.
We're starting it now.
By the way, these stories today come from strictly our listeners, which is nice. In the old days of Camp Creeply, we would scour the internet for strange stories related to camping. But these are
submissions from listeners, and they're pretty fantastic.
All allegedly true tales from our very own audience that have experienced strange things in the wilderness.
It's nice to have a catalog to pull from.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It is ever growing, so feel free to submit yours as well. Believeful.com.
Absolutely. And if you guys have camping stories out there, we're again doing another episode this season, at least one special edition of Camp Creeply, which would be Camp Creeply 6. So if you want to share your story, we would love to hear it. Go to believeful.com and click on the Share Your Story button.
That's right, and we couldn't fit all the submissions in on this episode. There are a few excellent ones that I am saving for Camp Creeply 6 because I want to touch base with the listeners who wrote in because I have specific questions about their intriguing experiences. This submission is extremely unique. I love this story. This comes from Shelby. This is a case of someone entering the forest, hearing something inexplicable, and having a close encounter with something inhuman. This is called Golden Eyes.
Hey you guys, my name is Shelby. I live in Alabama. This happened probably 2011. I was about 18 or 19, and I was dating a guy at the time. And one of the things we like to do a lot, we like to go walking, checking out places late at night, usually spooky places. Sometimes it would be with friends, usually just us two. And there was this set of woods out by his parents' house. It's in like a part of northern Alabama. And he had told me about things he'd seen out in that area, and other friends had too. I really didn't pay it much mind. I just thought maybe they were just messing with me. I don't know. But we went one night. It was probably 12:30 at night or 1 a.m. And we went out to these woods, and I remember there was a railroad track close to the entrance of the woods, and no houses really right there nearby. And right when we were about to enter the woods, I started hearing what I can only best describe as like a woman humming loudly, like no audible words, but humming. I could tell it was a woman's voice, and I looked at him and I was like, wait, did you hear that? And he just looked at me and he nodded. Later, I asked him what he heard first, and he did say that's what it was. So that should have told me not to really enter the woods, but we went anyway, and I was like, well, that's weird. I wasn't really scared, but anyway, we were maybe like in the middle of the woods, and all of a sudden there was this fallen tree, and he stepped over it. I remember he looked back at me, held out his arm to help me over it, and right as I was walking over it, to the left of me, directly to the left of me, I felt like the energy shift. Like somebody was immediately right there beside me. The best way I can describe the feeling, I felt like I wanted to run out of my own skin. And that might sound dramatic, but I've never felt that way any other time in my life. Not like somebody was just there beside me, but like I needed to get away from whatever it was, and I needed to now. And I took maybe 5 to 7 big steps as fast as I could, and I got the courage to turn around and look. And right where that happened, there was a set of golden glowing eyes. Don't know what it was. But anyway, thank you for all you do, you guys, and y'all are amazing.
Man.
Golden glowing eyes.
Also, humming, whistling, singing in the forest at night. That is a do not go into the forest for me.
Yeah, do not continue.
She didn't say the height, did she?
No.
No, I pictured eye level just because, well, I guess she was further away at the time when she looked back and saw the eyes, so it doesn't necessarily have to be the height. Why do you ask, John?
Well, I just think that kind of would make a difference as far as like if it was, I don't know.
Oh, like a animal of some sort?
Yeah. I mean, if it was obviously eye level, that's a big difference from something that is shorter.
Yeah, rather than being like a 8 feet coyote or something lower on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, most animals are going to be pretty below eye level.
I did ask her, I don't know if she probably didn't get it. So guys out there, if you submit a speak pipe, let me know. I'll respond sometimes to the speak pipe with further questions. It'll send an email from speakpipe.com, but I don't think people get them. I just found out from another listener who we're going to be doing a story from next time that he never got it. So,
some people do, yes.
But I did ask her, so I'll have to follow up again, what happened? Because it's definitely a bit of a cliffhanger. Like, did you run out of the forest?
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, further questions like more detail on the eyes, the height, and, could it have been an animal, the golden glowing eyes? But of course, you attach that to that feeling of dread that you may have never felt in your life before, that feeling like you want to run out of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
And then there being eyes right where you were standing, where you felt that.
I think John's got a good point. I mean, the key to, definitely adds to the intrigue if it is not at an animal level, because you could argue that you would have that sort of fight or flight sixth sense of an animal predator next to you, which actually comes up later in a story we have today. The humming is an interesting introduction to that story. Also, the fact that it's an area that's supposed to be haunted. That's the reason they went to these woods.
Right.
That adds to the...
Well, there's that too, that like young love kind of atmosphere, that kind of getting into trouble.
Stirs up all the spookies.
Yeah, stirs up the spookies,
Yeah, remember
the
that
energy.
Remember that fun episode we did? Fun and interesting episode, kind of sultry. What was that called? I forget what I called it, but it's basically about
spectrophilia?
The concept of like Lover's Lane monster attacks.
Oh, yeah.
Or spiritual encounters when you have young lovers together out in places. There seems to be an attraction, a sort
dangerous
of like
energy.
You're dangling something out into the waters of the ether, this happy excitement and, lust.
But also that kind of the newness and danger and
Right.
I mean, it's a high energy level, so.
But I was going to say, my instinct on that would be, I don't think she would have necessarily found it anomalous to report if she thought it was animal level eyes.
Right.
Looking back, you know what I mean? If it was just eyes, where like a deer would be.
Well, we'll find out and confirm before this comes out.
For sure. But those are just my thoughts. But anyways, thank you, Shelby. That was a beautifully told story.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing it.
I'd like to know more about that area, to look into that.
Where was it? Northern Alabama?
Yeah. In these haunted wood.
Thank you. All right. What is next on the list here of strange tales?
Well, why don't you introduce this one, Jeremy? You've listened to it most recently.
Oh, this is a great story.
I like the story. Well, I just told you to introduce it, but I'm going to cut you off. I like the story because I like what it alludes to, a certain reality about astral travel, about personal experiences with OBEs, in my opinion, and the connection with shadow people.
That is not what I picked up from the story at all.
Well, maybe let's see.
For me, it alluded to how you can be so tired that even anomalous ghosts appearing in front of you could more just be an annoyance.
Let's see what the listeners think and what John thinks.
But it's a great story.
Yes, this is again at a campground. My favorite sort of campground stories in a cabin.
All right, this comes from Marshall, and this is called Bunkbed Lurkers. Let's go to camp!
I like that.
Okay, so I've got two stories that are like shadow entity, shadow creature kind of ones, but they're both very different. They're kind of like sleep paralysis, but I wasn't paralyzed. So the first one happens up at my cottage, which is up in Parry Sound in Ontario. It was like 4 o'clock at night, and I just sort of woke up. I just opened my eyes. And I wasn't afraid. I wasn't anything like that. I was just sort of awake now for whatever reason. So I looked over to the corner of my room, and I saw just this darker patch of shadow, I guess, in the corner. And so I looked at it, and I'm still not afraid, and I can move, so I know it's not sleep paralysis. But I just look at it, and then it slowly starts to sort of lift up and go up onto the ceiling. And then it sort of slowly glides across the ceiling, still just a lump of shadow, basically. And then it goes out and sort of slithers over the door frame and into the hallway. And throughout the whole experience, I wasn't afraid, and I just sort of went back to bed. I didn't really think much of it. So the next story is a couple of years later at camp. I sort of have to lay the scene. So I was sleeping beside the door. So you walk in, and on your left, there's a bunk bed. On your right, there's a bunk bed. And behind the wall, there's 2 bunk beds that are against the wall. And then in between the right bunk bed and the wall bunk bed, there's a single bed. So I was on the bottom bunk of the one right on the right of the door when you go in. So I, again, just woke up randomly in the middle of the night. I don't know what time it was this time, but I just woke up again in the middle of the night, and I was just looking down. And so on the far bunk bed against the wall was my cousin on the top, and then a kid who is a little bigger on the bottom. And so I look over, and I see what looks like my cousin sitting up. But it's not him, and the movement is very weird. It's like glitching, but fluidly, or like it's like fading in and out of my focus, I guess. And so I look, and it looks exactly like my cousin, but I know it's not him because it's translucent, like shadow version of him. And so it starts slowly getting up, and then it starts climbing down the ladder really slowly. And then the kid below him, the silhouette of him also starts sitting up and gets out of the bed, and then also starts sort of gliding, weird, glitchy movement towards me as well. And then on the other bunk bed, there was a really tall, skinny kid on the bottom. And so again, a silhouette of him, I guess, gets up and starts coming towards me. And it's like, I distinctly remember his ankles basically going through the single bed that was in between us. And so all 3 of these things just keep sort of getting closer and closer to me in my bed until they're basically standing right above me. And I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? Screw this. I'm tired. And I put my one foot on the ground, and then I swung my other foot right through the silhouette of like my cousin's ghost thing and right through its head. And then they all disappeared. It was all back to normal, and I went back to sleep. It was weird because I also, I was kind of scared, but it wasn't like I was scared. It was more like I was annoyed that I was awake. And so I tried it again the next night. I tried to sort of stay up late and recreate exactly how I was sitting, and I couldn't do it. So I'm not sure what they were. Some sort of weird shadow apparitions thing. I didn't ask anybody about it, if they had any weird dreams or anything the night before. So, I don't know what it was. Anyway, love the show. Keep it up, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Marshall.
Yes.
Okay, Chris, what's your diagnosis?
I think this is fascinating in my mind. Of course, the first thing you could, if it's not some sort of hypnagogic experience, one-off experience that is just oddly bizarre and oddly
hallucination,
uniform insofar as the things he's seen come out of each camper, each friend, relative, or whatever. But I love the idea of it. Just made me think of immediately out of body experiences. It made me think of Journeys Out of the Body, Robert Monroe stuff. It made me think of what if, and I've always had this thought about shadow people in the back of my mind. What if not all shadow people, the ones that don't have this dark sort of holy evil feel to them, but what if sometimes shadow people that appear to some people are people that are astral traveling or having an out of body rather, because you're in this plane of existence, but maybe because he was in some hypnagogic state or for whatever reason, he could see them leaving their bodies. I think we all believe that on occasion we leave our bodies at night. At least us 3, I think, believe that.
Or anyone. Most people listening to the show probably. Yeah,
or at least a good chunk. So in my mind, this could be an interesting observation of that, where for some reason he was tuned in and was able to see, because again, they weren't just shadow people. They were silhouette versions of the people in the room.
Yeah, well, they're translucent.
Yes. What if this was their inner self leaving to explore? That's what popped into my mind. I thought that's a cool idea.
No, it's an interesting idea.
It's an interesting thought for sure. And it kind of makes sense that he wasn't afraid.
Yeah. You'd have a familial feel.
That's true. There was no dread that you get with the Hat Man or shadow entities, but they were, if they are just...
Normally that would be pretty scary, but if it was a familial vibe to it, then you wouldn't so much.
I like the idea that he was just seeing these other bunkmates on their way to their dreams.
Yeah.
That is cool.
It's a lot better than the experience that I had in Austin. I guess this is an appropriate time to mention this because this could lead into an episode about hypnagogic entities. I've never experienced anything like this before in my life.
Was this when we were just down there?
Yeah. I guess I had that fog monster experience years ago.
In Akron, yeah.
In Akron. But this, John, I told you about this. You know, Chris had been having some issues with anxiety. I don't know if you're okay with talking about that.
How dare you?
All right.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Actually, it started in Austin, that experience, because I went to the bathroom, woke up at like 3 in the morning-ish.
At John's new place.
John's new place, went to the bathroom, and I swear I felt something pick my hair up. And then I started having really dark thoughts. Like, what if there's something, whatever, probably in my own mind, but either way, like, that began, and then I felt like I was in this environment that I couldn't control. I couldn't turn a light on, couldn't turn a noise. I didn't want to bother John. Not that I couldn't, but I didn't want to. So then I just felt claustrophobic, and I had all these dark images in my mind, and then it just created that sort of panic attack.
Yeah, so you, Chris, started having these kind of episodes while we were down there, which made the move a lot of fun.
Most of it was great. It was just,
But, you know, in the back of your head thinking, okay, with that fear, potentially is something attached to me, or just generally the anxieties. Right. Anyways, so we were dealing with that, and then Chris and I end up staying at this really cool hotel downtown Austin called the Moxie, which is a really interesting kind of...
Oh, yeah, that was uptown. It was north.
Campus area.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like hip, modern kind of vibe. It feels like a lounge inside with a bar. Anyways, it's a cool, small little place. But
I forgot about this. Okay, go ahead.
But that night, it was a very small place. We had to share a bed because it's like a tiny, like the shower is next to the bed in these rooms. And so we're sharing this bed, trying to go to sleep. And I'm seeing, when I close my eyes, and you guys out there might have experienced this many times, we've talked about this, that in that hypnagogic state or in between sleep, or even when you're just trying to go to sleep, you're not even in a hypnagogic or hypnopompic state, you just see faces looking at you. And this particular night, I was seeing these malformed, almost Muppet-like, grotesque entities that were just looking at me and just kind of, it wasn't super malevolent or anything.
Right.
They were just there.
It's just odd.
In my face. And I didn't say anything to Chris. And then I could tell he's having trouble sleeping. And then I'm like, "Are you okay?" And what did you say? You said,
"Yeah, I just keep seeing these weird Muppet monstrous faces staring and making eye contact with me."
Yeah, and I was like, "Dude, that is so." I'm seeing the exact same thing when I close my eyes.
Not like with my eyes open, like when I'm trying to sleep with my eyes closed.
Right, like they're just beyond the veil in this room.
It's very strange.
Anyway, so
we had the same vision.
So long story short, Chris is having trouble sleeping that night. He keeps waking up off and on. I haven't had any of these issues at all with anxiety, but every time I start to fall asleep that night, I feel this almost like anxious energy in the center of my
chest. Right in the chest. That's where it happens for me.
In the solar plexus. And right when that would happen, I would shake awake. And wasn't asleep, but I would shake to where I was, fully back, my eyes open. And I looked over the first time this happened, and there was a stool shaped, like a footstool shaped little creature entity. I swear to God.
I remember you saying this.
I mean, of course, I'm seeing this. Is it real or is it hallucination or is it a hypnagogic thing? But it scampers off.
Yeah.
And I've never seen anything like this with my eyes open before. And then after that, this happened 4 or 5 more times. And each time, another time, the shape of a hand was under the sheet when I opened my eyes after I had the same swell of anxious energy and opened my eyes, and there was this hand recoiling from the bed under the sheet, just the impression of a hand. 3 more things I saw that night. That's never experienced anything like that
before.
That's
the sensation I get, and I've been wondering, I don't want that to be the thing. I don't want that to be the case. I want it to be like a vitamin D deficiency and not like something's feeding on me.
Right.
But I hate it because we do get emails sometimes from people, and it's like, don't tell me that. When someone sent in, just so you know, Chris, I'm clairvoyant, and you do have an entity that's attached to you. I don't want to know that.
Your family's cursed.
Your family's cursed. Leave that. Don't tell me that. I don't want to know. I want positive things, regardless.
Well, there's always a solution.
I wrote back to somebody recently who's been having a very similar experience, and I was reading his email, and I was, man, it's very similar to what I've been going through, but way darker. And I basically said, some advice of what I could give, but at the end, I was basically saying, don't pay it attention.
Yeah,
because
whether it's starve your ghouls,
whether it's a chemical issue, cognitive therapy can help that, or whether it's some sort of spiritual interdimensional feeder, the same thing applies. Cognitive therapy is in don't play into it, don't focus on it.
Yeah. No, that's the final thing I'll say on that. I think we should do an episode at some point on these hypnagogic entities, just because it was such an incredible experience for me to see something like that. But what I noticed about it was interesting because there's all kinds of entities out there, I'm sure, but these were they were just going about their day or their night. They were feeding on me.
It didn't feel evil, you said?
It felt like, I used to when sometimes sweat ants or things would climb on me, and I just, sometimes I just watch flies eat from me occasionally because I'm, curious. It's like a symbiotic thing, I guess. That may sound weird. But it felt like that. Like I felt like they weren't harming me specifically. It was an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
But it felt like if I didn't give in to that fear, they would get hungry and leave.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I totally forgotten about all that.
Yeah.
And it only happened like a week. It's been such a crazy week. And yeah, sometimes I wonder if they make you forget. Anyway, last thing I'll say about that is just, it was interesting. We woke up the next morning and both of our cell phones, was it our cell phones?
Oh, yeah.
They were tucked under the table across the room, sitting next to each other on the floor.
On the floor.
And I was like, what? So we left and I had to ask the concierge gal. And I was like, have you ever had any strange, people report strange things happening in the room, like hauntings or anything? She's like, no. She's like, this used to be a Jack in the Box. I was like, okay. I don't know how to explain
Which is a
it.
restaurant in Texas.
Yeah.
Like a fast food place.
And then she said, maybe you're haunted. And I was like, don't say that, lady. Anyway.
Camp Creepily.
Good camping.
Let's get back
story.
to camp. That's not enough about art.
Yeah. Sorry for the tangent, guys, but
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting and related.
It's good to shed that, I guess.
All right. What is next, guys?
Oh, this next one. Oh, yes. Very excited about this story because it is one of my favorite phenomena that seems to come up in reports from listeners in a way that we never thought would happen when we started the show. Also because this is a camping story. And when we were growing up, we went to a camp. And one of the spooky story that the counselors would always tell us was about a man named Pomeroy Poor.
Oh, yeah.
And his hand had been severed, I think, before he was killed because he was such a bad guy or something. And then the hand would come around at the camp at night, you know, probably a tall tale to keep people in bed.
Seeking vengeance.
But this is about a disembodied hand at camp, so I'm excited for this. This comes to us from Morgan, and this happened in Maine, 2002, 2003 in the summer.
This story takes place at a Girl Scout camp in Maine when I was about 12. My younger sister was with me, who was 11 at the time. I'm pretty sure 2002 to 2003. This is her story. We were with our Girl Scout troop at the weekend-long Girl Scout meetup at Camp Pondicherry. It was a large camp that had wood platforms with canvas tents over the top and 4 beds in each tent. My sister was with her friends in their tent, and I was with mine when I heard a scream come from their direction. All of us girls clamored out of our tents to the noise coming from my sister's tent. She claimed to see a green glowing hand reach up from under the canvas towards the back of her friend and then dissolve before making contact. I recently spoke to my sister about this, and she had forgotten since it was so long ago. My sister is very much not into this, quote, weird stuff, but says she still remembers the hand. My friends and I had questioned the girls and searched for any answer or prank that could have been pulled. I believe my sister saw something. We wonder if it was used as some sort of military training camp, like other camps in the area.
That's kind of weird because we just talked about hand coming at night at you, Jer. Are you okay, Jeremy?
Yeah, I was
You
getting
look very concerned. Look over Jeremy. Looks like he's looking at a predator at the window.
Well, I was doing a little research during the story.
You're scaring yourself?
I was comparing the disembodied hand to the Girl Scouts oath hand sign that they do.
Oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Do you know what the meaning of the Girl Scout promise with the hand?
No.
It's 3 fingers up and a pinky touching the thumb.
Okay.
Each finger represents one of the Girl Scouts' promise to serve God and country, to help people all the time. And the 3rd finger is to live by the Girl Scouts' law.
All sounds good. Why does it scare you?
And the thumb and the little finger that touch at the bottom, they stand for the bond between all scouts. But as I was reading that, I came across an identical hand symbol.
It means something else?
I think so. I'm trying to click on the picture because it is ye signs of power, ye elder sign.
Ooh.
And it's a demon hand
Okay.
with pointy nails and 3 fingers up and
The 2 thumb and pinky touching?
yeah.
Weird.
It could be, I don't know any background. Sorry, it just freaked me out while I was looking at it. I'm sure that the Girl Scouts are not.
Well, let's comment on the story.
Yeah, sorry. I don't. You shouldn't have asked me, Chris.
I was going to say, it's weird just because I wouldn't have thought about this, but because we just talked about your experience in Austin
Yeah.
at the hotel, it made me think all these hands that we cover, they do come at night, often to younger people's bedrooms.
They come at night.
They come at night and they terrify.
Yeah.
It does make me wonder, is there some connection there with Nightmare Feeder? Are they taking, or there's a whole purpose, and they dissolve. There's a whole purpose just to frighten.
What's with the hand? Why not like a leg?
An ankle?
I don't know.
Or
We're definitely
a head. I mean,
A knobby knee?
we've had way more hands than like heads. You think heads would be more disembodied heads?
I guess, think about it. If you were on the other side, say this
we've
is,
talked about this idea.
if you're attached to something, would you stick your face in the hole or would you stick your hand in so you could do something? You know what I mean? Like, unless you're going to just
That's
gnash
true.
your teeth at somebody. Like the hand, you can like move things around, steal someone's bow tie. We heard that in a story
I guess it
before.
depends on the intention and what they're trying to accomplish, if anything.
It'd be great to just like stick your head through and just like smile.
Well, also, like,
I mean, if you were trying to explore, you'd stick your head through. You want to see what's over there.
Yeah, that's true. Unless you can see through the veil, you just can't
Yeah.
touch.
who knows what these?
That's true.
Like, is this a disincarnate spirit or is this something interdimensional?
That's true.
We've had plenty of stories where it almost sounds almost science fiction-y.
Could be its
the way
own
these things come
entity.
through.
It's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be writing a book on this. I've come up with a
handy companion.
a handy compendium of strange
Disembodied hand research and
correlations.
lore.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting book when we ever finally do it one day in the future.
I do think it's one topic we've kind of, not that we've discovered it, but I think our show specifically, we kind of become a magnet for those stories, and it kind of blew me away how many we've had.
They'll
So
just keep coming up.
I think it would be good to kind of, explore that in maybe book form eventually.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that,
A
Morgan.
handbook.
A handbook. There we go. A handy handbook.
A bathroom reader.
Yes. Thank you, Morgan. Great story.
Let's keep it moving.
All right, this next story is another unique one. Packing them in here in the camp. Throw that log on, John. Toast it up. Nice.
Totally did it.
This one, all you wonderful listeners out there, when you're listening to the story, I want you to consider what could explain this situation, and we'll discuss afterwards. But this is definitely a unique experience. This comes to us from Sierra. This happened in Pinecrest Lake in Pinecrest, California, around August 2011. And it is certainly an interesting tale. This is called I Watched Myself Through Something Else's Eyes. When I was about 12 years old, my family went tent camping at Pinecrest Lake. It was my first time ever camping, and I was a very outdoorsy kid, so of course I was having a blast. The lake was fun to swim in during the day, but given it was wrapping up the summer season, there wasn't a whole lot going on other than that. If I remember correctly, the boat docks had already been closed, as well as the restaurant hut. Things were no longer operating at the time. So all the other campers were also either swimming or hiking around. During the day, it was lovely, and the daytime memories I have of the first camping trip are still some of my fondest. Because it was already mid-August, a lot of the campsites were vacant around us. Not very many other kids around for me to play with like I would have preferred, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. Around dusk, a game of Elmer started up. This is a California National Park game where once the sun sets, you yell out Elmer, and other campsites will echo it back to you. I remember being able to hear very distant calls of it echoing around, and I enthusiastically participated. I remember hearing a child calling back to me at one point, and I became excited. I thought I could see the glow of another campfire through the trees and became convinced that that's where the other kid was. And because there were no other inhabited campsites around us, my parents allowed me to wander from the campfire with a flashlight to see if I could find this other kid. I got to about where the pines started to get more dense, when suddenly my vision blanked. It was almost like the way scenes will cut away in a movie. And suddenly, I was looking at my own body from a point in front of me, but deeper, back in the tree line. It was high up, like the point of view I was looking from was suspended above the ground 10 or so feet. That single moment, with the image of my own self silhouetted against my family's campfire, clutching a flashlight and staring ahead, is literally seared into my memories. It had to have only lasted a moment, because that's all I remember of the event. And suddenly, it cut back, and I was me again. I remember turning around and immediately running back to the campsite. I felt like something was right on my heels the whole time, and I began screaming my head off as I neared my parents. I was spooked for the rest of the night, but my parents got a kick out of it once I had calmed down, thinking I had just spooked myself in the dark woods. I've been back to the lake many times since then, and have never experienced anything else strange there. However, it's worth noting, I have never stayed until nightfall there again, and I don't know if I ever will.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a unique thing. The idea that you walk up to the forest because you hear a child your age calling in this game, and then suddenly you can't see.
Elmer!
But then suddenly you see yourself from deep in the woods at 10 feet off the ground.
It's pretty terrifying, actually.
Yeah. Was she seeing some sort of predatory thing from their perspective? Like, that's obviously terrifying.
A lure kind of idea?
Right. The lure.
The voices in the woods, sort of.
Yeah. Disembodied, calling the trickster stuff that we've covered so many times over. The something pretending to be something human.
But then she was able to see through the eyes of whatever this thing is luring her, which is would be like almost a kind of gift, an ability of protection, maybe.
Yeah, it's very strange. I was trying to think of anything deep in my brain that I've heard of that has this sort of like even in folklore, where there's some sort of entity that maybe in some Germanic, fairy lore or something where there's something that is a predator, but also like you can see through its eyes when it's attacking or coming for you. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we told this story on the show years ago, but my ex-girlfriend had that experience in Hawaii when she was staying at a woofing farm where you can like camp out and grow vegetables, out in nature and stuff, alone in a cottage. And one night she was trying to sleep and she had this vision of seeing from the top of the hill in this like a Hawaiian landscape, running down, charging towards what appeared in the view was her cottage, running up to the door, slamming into the door. And at that moment, there was a huge slam on her door.
Really?
And she jumped out of bed.
Oh, wait. Did you tell me that before?
Yeah. I ran and there was nothing there. But that's that exact experience of seeing something that is focused on you, approaching you for whatever reason, seeing through the eyes. Just a weird kind of experience. Yeah, but I haven't heard anything else like that other than that one-off story.
Let us know if you guys are familiar with this concept or if you've had your own experience like this. I mean, yeah, definitely the fact that she had the sensation like that she was being charged at.
Yeah.
Very strange.
I mean, it sounds shamanistic, almost like the Sapo. We covered Sapo and Nunu and the ability to see through the eyes of animals.
Right.
But that's more helpful.
But again, 10 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
And it's not a normal animal.
No.
Definitely creepy. Yeah, I would not be going back there.
I just would never yell Elmer in the woods again.
Don't yell Elmer. The trick that the National Park System has devised to feed their monsters that they keep there.
I mean, that's a weird area, Pinecrest, from what I've read online about it, at least according to some people. There was a Reddit post about apparently missing persons up there. I'll link in the show notes, guys, if you want to read more about it. But there was a post titled, "Anyone Willing? Investigation on Town of Pinecrest, California and Missing Persons." And apparently in that area there's just a number of strange phenomena, cults, history of cults in the area.
Really?
Yeah. People going missing, underground tunnels, all kinds of interesting stuff. But I don't know, we could get into some other time. But yeah, strange place. Strange. I don't know what that would be.
Speaking of the unsavory folks out there who commit these bizarre and heinous crimes, if you're interested in some of the goings-ons in relation to this, you definitely want to check out
Detective Perspective. That is a podcast hosted by Derek Levasseur, who happens to be a licensed private investigator and former police detective with 19 years of investigative experience.
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of true crime podcasts out there, but not a lot that actually have licensed private investigators or former police detectives, for that matter, actually giving you the account.
Yeah, this guy's worked undercover with what? The FBI, DEA, ATF, and the Secret Freaking Service.
Awesome.
That's a pretty good resume.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that he focuses on investigations that haven't really been covered too extensively before.
Yeah, that's cool because you can also tell when he's mixing in his personal and professional experiences along with the actual account that he's covering. You get that kind of context.
I also like that the episodes are good for like, if you're driving somewhere, like a short commute or lunch break, 30 to 50 minutes, you get a good kind of bite-sized, dense mystery.
Ooh, a thought snack.
So listen to Detective Perspective every Monday on all podcast platforms or watch for it on YouTube every Tuesday. And guys, go check the link in the description where we will direct you directly.
Awesome. What's going on with the next story in the Camp Creeply saga?
Oh, yes. This is another interesting account. I like this one. This one, I have my own theories on, but I took a phrase that she said. This is a speak pipe from Cody. I took a phrase that she used in her telling of her tale as and made it the title. It's called The Muttering of Men, which just sounds like a great, like Lord of the Rings phrase or something.
Or There Will Be Blood.
Yes. The Muttering of Men. This is a fascinating account. She's out hiking on her own deep in the forest, which is pretty brave, I must say. We have a family friend who's doing that right now, and I know she's had some crazy experiences already. But yes, let's hear her account. This is The Muttering of Men, submitted by Cody.
This is The Muttering of Men. That sounds like that could be the name of our podcast.
Oh, this is, you meant the Lord of the Rings, like the actual setting and the story.
No, like The Muttering of Men is just a phrase you would hear.
Like a Tolkien,
right? It's like the Muttering of Men in Moria, like.
Oh, I gotcha.
The shadow and the flame, yeah. All right, let's play it up.
Hey guys, here's my outdoor creepy story. I was backpacking by myself in upstate New York about 2018, and this was in the Lake George region. It was not Lake George proper, it was outside of that. I hiked about 7 miles in from my parking spot into a place where I knew no humans should be because a lot of people really didn't know about this place. And it was a nice spot. There was a pond right there, so I set up camp near the pond, off the trail, and I saw no humans, right? But just as it's getting dark, I heard what sounded like the muttering of men. About 200 yards off, and I, try as I might, I could not see them, and it went on and on and on until well after the sun set. I heard this muttering for hours. I couldn't make out language or distinct words. It didn't sound like English to me, and I was very bothered, obviously, very scared, because I'm a solo female in the middle of the woods, and now I hear what sounds like men who I can't see muttering incessantly for hours. Well, probably around about midnight, 1 a.m., that muttering stops. And then all the sounds of the forest stop. And it gets completely silent. And what I start to hear is the rhythmic pounding in the distance, and about the same spot as this muttering, this rhythmic pounding of what sounds like a wooden baseball bat or a large wooden branch hitting a wooden tree trunk. That's exactly what I was picturing as I heard this, was somebody taking a big baseball bat and just beating on a tree with it, but it was very rhythmic. That sound went on for about 5 to 10 seconds, stopped, and then all the forest sounds, the bugs, the frogs, all the weird wildlife that you hear camping, that resumed as it had been going on before. But then this pattern emerged all night. The sounds of the wildlife would stop. The rhythmic pounding would begin and go on for about 10 seconds or so. And then that would stop, and then the wildlife sounds would start up again. It was like I had to either hear one or the other, but I wasn't hearing both at one time. Well, I was absolutely terrified, but I was frozen in fear in my tent all night because there was nothing I could think to do except run away, which I would have to run right past these weird sounds on the trail in the dark 7 miles if I wanted to get out. So I was just like frozen in my tent. Luckily, nothing happened, but as soon as the sun came up, I packed up my stuff and I basically ran and jogged the full 7 miles out of there with all my gear on my back. It was the most tired I've ever been by the time I got to my car, but I just had to get out of there. And I didn't even see any people on the way out. I saw no signs of what these sounds were, and I was baffled. I asked my friend, who was also an outdoor reporter, what were these weird sounds I could have been hearing? Was it like deer or elk, like with their antlers, like sharpening them or something? Like, I just had no clue what I was hearing. And he laughed because it was such a silly question. But then he said, in all seriousness, I don't believe in this stuff, but People report to me frequently that they have Bigfoot encounters right where you were, which is a little town called Whitehall. And he said, and they report the sounds of tree knocking. You should YouTube Bigfoot tree knocking because that's exactly what it sounded like. Well, I thought he sounded crazy right then and there. I did not believe in Bigfoot at all back then. But I YouTubed it. That's exactly the sound I heard. And it turns out tons of people have had Bigfoot encounters in that same area where I was. And they have had them for years and years now. I guess it's very well known. I had no idea until that point, and that's what opened my eyes to Bigfoot. So I don't know that that's what I encountered. Was it Bigfoot? If not, it was still strange, but that's my story.
Freaky
Bigfoot.
Could have been the muttering, could have been the big feet.
Yeah, I mean, it made me think of like the whole samurai.
Oh, the samurai speak.
Yeah, that's true.
We covered that with Ron Moorhead.
She did say it was like a language that she didn't understand, right?
Yeah, where it sounded like a language, but it was, something unintelligible. It sounds like...
I mean, that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it was far enough away, it would sound like muttering, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, these things are out there. I mean, I firmly believe that at this point in my life.
I think I do too.
I've always wanted to believe, and now I just believe. It just seems like it's hard to deny it with so many people's personal experiences. So many close encounters too, where it's hard not to believe some of the people who've had these experiences, who've seen with their own eyes, been assaulted on occasion.
Especially when you get the corroboration like, oh, well, that's Whitehall.
Yeah. As someone who works in that field.
Yeah. In fact, there's an article I'll link in the show notes called Looking for Bigfoot, Why Not Whitehall?
Oh, really?
Well, apparently I don't know if there's a festival there, but it's a huge spot. And if you didn't know that going into it, and then you come across something like that, maybe there is a population there actually speaking audibly.
In the rhythmic knocking thing, obviously you hear about the tree knocks all the time. We have an amazing story that we'll be doing on the next Camp Creeply that involves knocking, but there's a supernatural twist to it that's pretty terrifying. And it reminds me of an account that our mother shared that I'll try to get her to tell on the next.
Our mother shared it.
Our mom, try to get her to tell this experience involves when she was growing up in the woods with a Ouija board and knocking that ensues. But the weird thing about that is I just realized as you were mentioning Whitehall, Jer, maybe there's a festival there, where Mom grew up. Newcomerstown was known for a big flap of Big Feet sightings when she was living there. And now there's a festival there. In the 70s, when she was living there, there was, she grew up there, she graduated in 73. But that was, so when she was hearing those knockings, that kind of just clicked in my brain. Was she hearing a troop of Big Feet?
But anyway, yes. What's the article you have about the festival in New York?
This article, Whitehall named Sasquatch its official animal. And it reminds me of what you say about the 1970s when we had that kind of spate, or the flap, if you will.
Yeah.
Sasquatch has been named the official animal of the village of Whitehall. Bigfoot sightings date back to the Iroquois and Algonquin nations. In the early 1970s, several sightings of the hairy man creature were reported at a local golf course.
What?
Over time, the sightings have led to the town of Whitehall passing a law protecting the Sasquatch in the early part of the 21st century.
Cool, lucky Sasquatch. So that's Whitehall, New York, but they are in Ohio.
Yeah, I'd never thought Bigfoot there were any sightings in Ohio.
Yeah, but Ohio's huge for Bigfoot.
Wasn't Minerva Monster? That was basically a Bigfoot.
Really? I did not know that.
What's interesting about that Minerva Monster is that, again, 1978, it's that 70s flap in Ohio of Big Feet sightings. I don't know how close it was to Newcomerstown, but anyway.
Just to let listeners know, we are split now.
Yes.
We haven't really mentioned that. I'm in Texas now. So
we did last episode.
Yeah, but it was kind of vague and not really not that people need to know, but actually I do like it. I like the experience of just listening and being fully absorbed in the stories. So
you mean, recording remotely?
Yeah, I kind of like not having to move my head back and forth the whole time.
As we're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there is something nice about the kind of direct, even though you're separate, it does feel more focused in a way.
But we went through a journey getting here. Thank you guys for helping me move. Mm-hmm. And you guys went through a terrible sickness that you're just getting over.
We got the Help John Move plague.
That was our reward. Thank you, Amtrak.
Anyways, but on to the show. I just wanted to mention that we are on a different place right now. So
yes, different planes of existence, but
closer than ever.
Closer than ever.
I feel you.
I feel you here.
Almost like you're inside me.
Okay.
In my ear.
Not, in a spiritual way. Anyway, let's get back to camp. But first, let's take a break.
Yay.
Yay! All right, campers, make sure you have your buddy when you go out there. It's a dark night. The the flashlight patrol will be on duty, so.
Stock up on your s'mores and make sure Susie isn't stealing all the graham crackers.
That's right.
Watch out for the golden eyes while you're necking in the woods.
Watch out for the spiders in the trees.
Yeah, scorpion spiders, John.
I know.
You remember. Big brother. All right, guys, we will be right back after this quick break.
Real quick before we go to break, if you want access to over 150 extra episodes, head on over to beliefhole.com where we deliver our expansion episodes. And in this expansion, we are taking Camp Creeply to the next level. We are extending the Camp Creeply episode. And if you want ad-free episodes and access to all those other shows, beliefhole.com is where it's at.
Welcome back to camp.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, a lot of creepy stories tonight. But you know what really creeps me out, Chris and John, my brothers?
What's that, Chair?
The terror of online exposure.
Oh, yeah.
To my freaking personal dad, I tell you what.
Shivers.
Yeah, scammers, spammers, all those jerks out there.
That's exactly right. And that's why this episode today is brought to you by Aura.
Yeah, it's really nasty what they do out there. They'll take your full name, your email, even your home address, your relatives' records, and they'll sell it to people.
Yeah, I found a ton of my information. Apparently my email had been leaked on the deep web in a lot of places. And as soon as I signed up, they gave me a full list of what was going on. They helped me find ways to patch up these holes and get my data under control.
You don't want that leaking.
That's right. They also have a great tool called the Data Broker Removal Tool, which happens automatically when you sign up. It basically looks at these different data brokers that are taking your information and selling it to annoying companies that send you those robocalls, those text messages, and they automatically opt you out of all those different registries, so you don't have to worry about it.
That's awesome.
I mean, who doesn't love a good robocall when you're eating dinner?
Right? That's why my phone is just perpetually on silent.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be if you get Aura.
They have great features like antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, all wrapped into one package. So you don't have to worry about getting a bunch of different services. Just check out Aura.
Yeah, they're good to us. They'll be good to you. Let them bathe you in their aura.
Let them bathe you in their aura for a little peace of mind.
Yeah, so if you value your privacy, like we do, go to aura.com/beliefhole to start a 2-week free trial. 2 weeks free.
And guys, that'll be linked in the description below for easy access. Click away, give them a try. Do it now.
Or we'll kill you.
Find the wonder of Aura. All right, this next one will be in relation to a phenomena that you guys out there will be familiar with. At least this is a possible theory that our friend here, who has submitted, William McBride, he had an experience that he thinks he might have been a close call to a missing 411 experience, being taken in the woods, or being lured at least to not a good end. This happened on Cold Mountain Trail in George Washington National Forest in Virginia, April 20th, 2013. This is called Almost Taken.
I decided I wanted to go on a backpacking trip 11 years ago. I love the outdoors and thought this would be an awesome adventure to take on. I couldn't get any of my friends to go with me, so as an inexperienced 23-year-old, I decided to just go by myself. This was before smartphones were a common thing, so I had printed out a map laminated to navigate. It was a steep hike. I had to prop myself up against the trees to rest, to counter the vertical gravity. I was struggling with this with my full rucksack, but I pressed on. Halfway up the incline section of the hike, I realized I couldn't hear a single sound coming from the woods around me. Every animal was silent. I kept on trekking up this trail and finally made it to the first saddle marked on the map. It was just a nice flat area, surrounded by drop-offs and woods. I made camp there, which is where the photo I attached came from. I never heard a single animal the entire time I was on that mountain. I made camp and started a fire, made dinner and hot tea, and as I was eating dinner, the temp went from the mid-60s to below freezing in less than 30 minutes. I watched the frost form on my tent and my hot tea freeze in the cup I was holding. All of a sudden, I got this urge to just run back to my car and everything would be okay. Just leave all my gear and make a break for it. But this was at 2 to 3 a.m. No light at all. If I tried to run, I don't know what kind of bad stuff could have happened to me on the way down. Years later, I found out about the missing 411 cases, and there was a cluster right in the area I camped. It has haunted me for years, but I think this may have happened to people who went missing.
I could totally see that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It's at 2 or 3 a.m. again.
Yeah.
Man, that is a cold mountain. His hot tea froze in his cup. And this is April 20th.
Yeah, in a matter of minutes, he said. Well, within half an hour.
Yeah.
Dropped 30 degrees. It was allegedly a really nice day starting out. So you do have to wonder that inclement weather thing.
We get that connection.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is called Cold Mountain Trail. So maybe this happens.
Yeah. But maybe it's called that.
It's definitely a strange story with the feeling and everything.
Yeah.
Waking up.
And absolutely. And also the idea that, I think the key there is even though, he is out there and his common sense says, you don't leave all your gear.
Mm-hmm.
He has the urge to just leave everything behind and run down like basically just a straight drop off, where he climbed up that vertical hill. He was just going to leave everything he had there. How many miles back? 2 miles? Try to get back to his car. It's obviously not the right thing to do.
2 miles. Yeah, only 2 miles, but it's interesting you bring that up. We reached out to Billy to get some follow-up from the story. He did send some information that kind of elucidated some of the stranger aspects of the situation.
Yeah.
The 2 miles, it was only 2 miles, but it was a 1,400-foot elevation gain. So a super steep climb.
Big drop.
And then as he described it, he came out to this completely flat meadow at the top of the mountain, which he said looked like the top was just cut clean off. He said he'd never seen anything like it. And for those of you interested, if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to throw an image of the map up right now that he sent us of his trek. We'll have it in the show notes as well. But on the map, you can see he circled where he parked and then traced a line along the trail that he followed and then circled the campsite where he ended up. And this was kind of an interesting point that he brought up in the email regarding his concern about the missing 411 cases, which he notes, which we've heard before, about a lot of the victims having died of hypothermia, according to coroner's reports, which sometimes seems like it wouldn't make sense due to the circumstances, but hearing his story with that sudden temperature drop may be anomalous of what caused it. When something gets super cold and fast like that, like he experienced, if that's not something that's known to happen in the region, at least not to that degree, is this some kind of phenomena that could be causing this? Could he have experienced a similar kind of phenomena? And one thing he didn't get to mention in the story is that he had packed, I guess, a spare set of clothes that he actually used to pack as insulation in his thin coat he was wearing at the time to help him stay warm. And even though his sleeping bag was rated for below freezing, he said that it really didn't help much at all. So with that in mind, and after hearing a lot of the stories of missing 411 and following that stuff on his own, coming across a lot of those cases gave him a serious chill down his spine, and he wonders if he came close to disappearing and hoping that his story might help, or at least provide some caution for people going out on their own.
Yeah, it's freaky.
And again, that kind of unexplained dread and fear would lead someone like him who had planned to hike the entire loop with several days of supplies to just turn around after that first night and get the hell out of there.
Yeah, it's pretty telling.
Oh, and interestingly, he did note that there was actually an unsolved murder at the very next stop that he had planned to camp. And if you guys look this up, it's called Cow Camp Gap Murder, the tragic story of hiker Scott Lilly that happened only 2 years before he was there. Now, Scott Lilly's body was discovered by other hikers, and the cause of death was determined to be asphyxia by suffocation. But the case remains unsolved, and it's unclear whether his death was due to foul play or other causes.
Very sad.
There's still no clear evidence pointing to a specific perpetrator or motive, which of course increases the mystery, like so many of these stories you hear about on the Appalachian Trail. So guys, if you're hiking, just take care out there.
Right?
We don't want to lose you.
Some brave people camping in the woods like that.
Yeah.
By themselves.
I could not do that.
It's definitely, I've heard stories of people that have done it, and I mean, it's intense.
It's freaky, man. It's another world out there at night.
Yeah. When you're by yourself like that, and regardless of what actually is out there, your mind is a powerful tool and you can conjure up all sorts of things, and it's real hard to imagine they aren't there
Right.
during those times.
To keep that stoic mind set, I know I would be. I have a hard time not letting my mind not trick me into...
Well, especially after what we do.
Exactly.
You know?
It's just this stuff is in my head all the time now. So any of these situations...
It's like going swimming after you've watched Jaws 500 times in a row.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's, for a lot of people, most of my friends, it's like they go out camping. It's like, well, they have to worry about for signs of, a strange person in the forest. My mind just goes to like all the weird things that we've covered.
Yeah.
It's just a lot more options for horrible things to happen to you.
Well, especially when you're by yourself. I mean,
well,
it's different when you're camping with people, but
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I would go camping with people any day.
Definitely camping by yourself requires a certain level of, or either just comfortable by yourself in the wilderness. Like I imagine there's a lot of people that go do that and you just get comfortable being.
I'm sure. I know listeners of ours do.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that do, but
not a scaredy pants.
You'd have to get over that hump. I feel like at first of.
Oh yeah, just being alone out there, not being used to that. I think that there definitely seems to be a shift sometimes. There's something about the forest at night that just feels different to me.
I'm sure, it's almost like a trip.
Yeah, I just feel like in my mind, it's not necessarily that the forest itself changes, but it almost feels like doors open in the forest and there's just the opportunity for things to be there that aren't during the day. And it sounds weird, but I just feel like things can slip through in something about the energy, the umbra of the woods.
Absolutely. I mean, if you believe any of the things we talk about, the fairy stuff and just these veils that exist, and at night by yourself, I mean, I would feel like even the human being there would have some sort of ability to open up those other dimensional portals,
Absolutely, man. And, that just kind of made me think of something. The idea that, like, before we conquered this world as a species, and you had the earth wall to wall with nature, trees touching trees through, they always talk about like Ohio, a squirrel could jump from one tree to the other and cross the entire state without touching the ground before we'd settled. But that idea of like, the forest is magical and that might be a place where we can contact kind of a greater reality or these dimensional doors open up. But thinking about the way the world used to be, when the world used to be a forest, in a sense, the whole world was a more magical place. And we've just cut that, we've clear cut that from our reality. And now you only experience the way the world really is when you are in nature.
Pave it over.
Fern Gully style.
Exactly. Put up a parking lot. Anyways, I just think that's kind of an interesting idea. The idea that the world probably just would all be as magical and mysterious as a forest at night.
Yeah, it's a metaphor for our connection with that mystery. The fact that we've created these nice little comfortable homes and cities and grocery stores. But back then, everything was, I'm sure it was a harder life, but they were much more connected to the mystery and the magic of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and probably just peace of mind. Just peace. I feel like, I mean, obviously,
it's a different type of peace. There was a, survival that they had to deal with, but...
Yeah, I'm talking about like the distraction from the existential crisis that people go through these days, where it's like, what is the meaning? Yeah. Because you have no meaning.
They weren't having mental breakdowns in their 30s.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out there trying to survive every day and keep your family alive, there was a certain kind of like reward structure, like I think emotionally, spiritually with that, what every day you're doing, obviously these very important, vital things where I think we're in a very cushy place, a lot of the world anyway, where I think you have time to wonder like, what's my purpose, which can be good and also can be a trap.
And wonder or just not know it or not actively participating in creation on a daily basis. So you do have that existential angst seep in.
Right. Or just distraction. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, camping stories.
Yeah.
A little side tangent into the existential dread that we all feel from time to time in the modern world.
Yeah. A little different than the Sylvan dread, but it's along the same lines.
Let's get back to the Sylvan dread.
Yeah, let's go back to the...
I prefer it.
From the existential.
From the glow light of the screen.
Well, speaking of getting back into the woods, let's have Lindsay take us there. Huh?
All right.
This comes from a great friend of the show, Lindsay Maves, in the house with her story. This is a great tale, a short and sweet example of what you might find in the woods that is inexplicable. Let us know what you guys think about what she may have experienced here. I call this Walker in the Wood.
Hey guys, I would like to share my Camp Creepily story with you. I honestly forgot about this one until my best friend saw the post that I shared of yours on Instagram. So this happened back in 2000. My best friend and I went with her uncle camping to a place called Petrisor. This is located in central area of Wisconsin. The second day in, it was a gloomy afternoon, so we decided to take our bikes on some trails that were on the outskirts of the campground. We were pretty far in, and it was going pretty good until we noticed somebody walking through the forest. We stopped since we were two 12-year-old girls in the middle of the woods and seeing where this guy was going. We noticed it was a man because of the outline of his shape, even though it was more mist than solid. Just like the build, you could tell it was a man. He never acknowledged us and just seemed to be walking in a daze. Suddenly he turned his direction towards us and we started getting scared. We noticed that he never saw us. It was as if he was looking through or past us. We ended up getting freaked out, screamed, and rode our bikes fast as we could back to camp. We ended up later that day going to the store, and my best friend was brave enough to ask if anyone died in those woods. We found out that a gentleman did in a hunting accident. For the rest of this day, we never went back in those woods, afraid we would see that man again. I hope you enjoyed my story. Thank you guys for all you do.
Thank you for all you do, Lindsay. Great story.
Yes.
Yeah, don't go back in those woods.
Sad story. Every time I hear a story about that,
No, go visit him. I'm sure he's lonely.
Yeah. I mean, a wandering spirit lost in the forest.
Ghosts have feelings too, Jeremy.
That's true. Unless it's just an echo.
That's true.
Let's hope.
But he was misty. He was phantasmic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So definite ghost. Definite piece of a spirit, maybe.
A little chindi action, kind of? A residue? Yeah, because I mean, but I do think, a hunting accident, if there's going to be a confusion of a death,
yeah,
something that happens so fast, boom, and then you're on the other side. I can see that period of time of what's going on? I'm still here, right?
If there's going to be any sort of confusion, that would be.
Yeah, but I don't think that lasts forever.
No, it doesn't.
They find their way.
I would argue that's true.
So here's to you, man of the forest. I hope you've found your way.
Nothing is forever.
Diamonds are, John.
The only thing permanent is change.
That's Jared's.
Diamonds are not forever either.
That's what the commercial says.
The only constant is change. That's what I meant to say.
Quick side thought. We were walking through the mall yesterday and some man tried to wave us into his jewelry store. And I thought, in what world would I go in to buy?
He put his hand up. He's like, hey,
come. Like, he looked at us like, why aren't you coming in here? Like, obviously this is the place for you. He's like, come in there to buy a diamond necklace.
He's like, why are you even in the mall if you're not coming to my jewelry store? Two single men.
You guys scream high rolling diamond seekers.
Yeah, we're bling.
Even if I was,
we're totally blinged out all the time.
Such a scam.
Yeah, that's why I hate the mall. Is it's just people especially in the middle of the mall, you gotta I'm good. I don't need anything that you're selling.
Pretend they're on your phone.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
Yeah. What? I can't hear you. He's right next to you.
Sorry. I've got to take this. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Back to the woods.
Back to the woods. Out of the mall and back to the woods. Grab your graboid shake, head out of the food court, and we're going back to the wilderness.
Well, do you want to introduce this next very bizarre account, Jeremy?
Oh, yes.
The Screaming Hoard of Edgar?
The Screaming Hoard of Edgar. This is a bizarre account. Yes, let me know, listeners, what you think this could be. And there's not really much to say other than get your ears ready. This comes from Edgar.
When I was around 15 years old, my family took us to a river near Lake Isabella in Southern California, close to Los Angeles. It was a fun experience. We got to camp out next to this river. It actually turns out that that river is not very safe. Apparently people died there. There was some ghost stories that people talked about, but at the time, I didn't know anything about it. We just went there to, have fun. I remember specifically I was there with my brother, my younger brother, and my cousins and, a lot of family. And since we got to camp out there, we were, in a tent in the wilderness. And just a little bit of backstory, because it's going to come into play later. When you drive down to that river, you have to go down this very steep and narrow incline road, and you can't go faster than 10 miles per hour. Each turn you do, you have to go 5 miles per hour. So going anything over 10 is crazy. And it takes like about an hour to get down to the actual river and park and all that stuff. But, you know, we have our fun. Sun goes down, tent set up. And me and my brother share a tent. And we're going to sleep. Or trying to. And we just keep hearing noises. And we start talking about it. We're just asking each other like what we think it is. Because it doesn't sound like anything natural. It's not like, you know, wolves or owls or anything. It sounds like specifically, it sounds like the screeching of car tires, like as if someone's like drifting, you know, going fast and then sliding the car and braking really hard and the tires, you know, burning rubber on road. So that's what we thought it was. We thought it was people just driving really fast, tires screeching on the pavement. And then we started kind of discussing it more, and then we remembered that the incline is so steep and so treacherous that there's no way that anyone's doing that. So we got out of our tent and we kind of walked towards the noise a little bit. So this river is kind of surrounded by mountains. That's what we had to drive down. And so we kind of went closer to the mountains that we were hearing the noise come from. And again, it sounded just like someone's driving like a madman. It sounded like two people were racing. That's what it sounded like. Just hitting corners, burning rubber, nonstop. And we heard it for minutes. Probably close to like 15 minutes to half an hour. We weren't really scared of it, but we were just kind of wondering who was making this noise. And as we got closer, it stopped sounding like cars. And again, we kind of figured that it couldn't have been cars. As we got closer, what it started sounding like was, I don't know how to describe it, but it sounded like a choir of 20 or 30 people all shrieking in unison. And it was so loud and in sync that together it sounded like cars screeching on the pavement. I think of like horror movie choir crescendo Oz, where everyone's like, oh, like, but it's like men, women, just all these people, as if they're like all in a demonic choir, kind of just mimicking the sound of tires screeching on the pavement. I just don't know how to explain what happened that day and what that could have been. At the time, me and my brother, we kind of just thought it was some sort of satanic thing that was happening in the mountains nearby, that maybe people were having a ritual, but it scared us enough to just run back to our tent and try to go to sleep. And nothing happened of it, but I just remember that being a very surreal experience in my childhood. But yeah, that's just one of the stories. I don't have too many ghost stories or things like that, but my mom has a bunch, and I do have a handful of some. And I love your guys' podcast. I'm binging all of your episodes right now, and I gotta listen to Camp Creeply. And maybe I'll get onto Camp Creeply 5. I don't know. That'd be cool. But yeah, take care, guys. God bless.
You made it.
Well, you made it, sir. And that was a great story.
Yeah. So bizarre.
Very strange.
Yeah.
I love it, though. That, I mean, as a sound person, that is very, very memorable.
Yeah, very expressive. The idea of like what you think is like bizarre screeching tires, and then gradually realizing that you can make out human voices within that screeching.
Yeah.
Oh, it's freaky.
Almost like it sounds like it's coming from hell directly. I'm sure, obviously, it wasn't, but
I was thinking in sort of like this is definitely more of like a horror fiction narrative sort of sense in my mind. If I were a writer of some sort, I would turn this into like there was a tragedy involving an accident on that steep road, and that somehow those screeching tires, they morph into the tragic sounds of the souls that were affected by the
the crash.
Oh,
So
that's
you have
very
this
poetic.
Squealing and then like the screaming, and it's like all kind of because on the other side everything is kind of blended together with the tragedy.
I think it's a satanic cult.
That's probably
It's a devil's cult in the woods, is what it is.
Demon summoners.
Yes, I like the cult idea. I think that we don't get enough of that these days, frankly.
I think there's too much.
I don't think that we hear enough of them, and I think that they're out there, frankly. That's my personal opinion.
Cults have feelings too, Chris.
Cults have feelings too. It's not the noble kind.
No, great story, Edgar.
Yeah.
Yeah, great story. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like so long I've wanted to do an episode on these kind of, you get touches and tastes and little deposits of the suggestion of cult activity. You know, we used to talk about this, and it's like kind of taboo to talk about. I feel like, satanic cults, ritual abuse, all that stuff, but I do think that there are groups out there.
Is it taboo to talk about?
It depends on the circle.
Some people, there is definitely, okay, I'm going to say my piece.
Like the satanic panic type
Yes.
stuff?
Yeah. I'm going to say my piece, that this absolutely does happen. Now, to the degree of how widespread it is around the country or whatever.
It definitely happens.
Definitely happens. So I think that when people say like it's all made up, I think they've bought into the idea that it's all and forever always been satanic panic. There's plenty of
That's definitely not true.
right. We've covered cases before where it's been proven that these things do occur.
Yeah,
from time to time, there are these extreme sorts of people out there that get wrapped into.
Become kind of, well, at least the satanic mindset has become quite a bit more open. I don't know, as far as like,
Right, that's a separate sort of like,
you're talking about like the darker ritual type stuff.
yeah.
right, where there's actually criminal activity involved. Yeah.
Bridgewater Triangle.
Right. Like, well, we heard Holly just left a message last show.
Yeah.
Talking about how they used an infant. I mean, it does happen.
Right. Absolutely.
It may be more, as obviously there was a big craze at one point, but it definitely happens. People are crazy. The world is big, and there's a lot of dark shit that happens
Especially
in the
in
world.
other countries, it's very prevalent.
Yeah.
Just making deals,
Yeah.
Anyways, but I think that I think even like in a nostalgic, like, it sounds weird to say, but like just the idea of running into groups of robed figures in the woods. There's always like my favorite kind of classic horror concept.
Right. Like David Lynch style.
Yeah.
Or like, what was the great one with Johnny Depp where he's the book collector?
Oh, The Ninth Gate.
Ninth Gate.
Great movie.
Yeah, what an unsettling.
That's like the fun version,
Yeah.
where
Right.
it's like the film version. Yeah.
That's the Pirates of the Caribbean.
Right. Where nothing really happens, but it's just like, there's robed figures in the woods, but no one gets hurt.
It does remind me that, the way he described that kind of chorus reminds me of a score from a movie like Ninth Gate, where it's like, oh,
Or
like a
Suspiria.
group of voices
Yeah.
moving up and down. Yeah. Suspiria. Yeah. The original.
Anyway, great story.
Great story, Edgar.
Yeah.
If your mom has stories like that, some good ones, send them over.
And whether you're, camping in your, group camp and you go out to the outhouse, or you're, camping,
What?
or you're camping and have a missing 411 experience, or you're, like this and you maybe are
Solo camping or with friends.
or with friends, take a buddy wherever you're going. That's my advice.
Use the buddy system.
I mean, if you want to be like, just have better odds in any of these strange situations, have a buddy.
Your odds are pretty good regardless, to be honest.
John, you don't need to be contrarian to everything I say.
Just go out there willy-nilly, hike as far as you can in the
I'm not
wilderness.
contrarian to everything you say. I'm just saying
You're correct. There's 99% chance you're not going to experience any of these situations.
99.999% you're going to be fine.
That being said, you'll definitely have a better chance if you're with someone.
Use the buddy system.
Yeah.
Why don't you take your friend with you if you're going to die?
There you
You
go.
might not die.
Definitely take tracking, some sort of, if you're going deep hiking.
Yeah, if you're going by yourself.
Yeah, then they
Yeah.
can find your mutilated body.
I'm sure they don't need the belief hole to tell them how to prepare.
Well, people go all the time without preparing, and then they
If you're
disappear.
going by yourself into the deep woods, you're probably on a higher level than we are as far as understanding what to do.
Except for all those people that disappear because they did not prepare.
Well, they probably have a lot better understanding than we've ever done.
I mean,
They're
that's-
gone, John.
Yeah,
they
but-
did not take a device to track themselves.
how do you know?
Because they did it. That's why they weren't found.
All those stories like of missing 411, those people all did not have tracking devices.
If you ever listen to Steve Stockton, David Price, they all say the best thing you do is bring some sort of GPS tracking system. So if you get lost,
Yes. No,
so why are you finding that advice?
No, I'm not fighting that advice. I'm just saying, did all those stories not include people that took any sort of tracking system with them?
I'm sure some did and some didn't.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
I'm
but
sure
I
some
think
people did, but it didn't matter.
because they slipped through another dimension.
Exactly.
our own story we just reported here from our good friend William said, as an inexperienced 23-year-old, I decided to just go by myself. So some people Or inexperienced. Not everybody is a professional hiker.
It's a fair enough point.
That is all. Obviously, we're not in a place to give any advice.
We argue about the weirdest points.
I'm just saying this would be my advice if I could give any.
Good advice. What's the next story that you have advice for, Chris?
This last story, we're going to bring it home for just an eerie, more natural encounter in the forest. This is called Watched in the Wild. And this comes to us from Wade.
Hey guys, this isn't a supernatural story, but was still very spooky. This happened just last week when my girlfriend and I were camping on Kootenay Lake in British Columbia. We were at a remote campsite along the lake with only a few other campers in the area. It was our first night in camp, and we sat up next to the fire till about midnight when my girlfriend decided to go to bed. As per usual, I stayed up a bit later, just enjoying the warmth of the fire and looking up at the stars. Due to fire bans in the past years, we had found it easier to use a propane fire pit instead of a wood fire. Not as good as the real thing, but better than nothing. I was just about ready for bed when I noticed movement out of the corner of my eye. I looked to the left, and much to my surprise, locked eyes with a large cougar standing less than 6 feet away, illuminated by the artificial fire. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I felt the hair stand up on the back of my neck as my mind tried to assess the situation. Cougars are usually such elusive animals. To have it be this bold took me by surprise. I didn't feel fear, rather a strange calmness as I gazed into the eyes of the large predator. After a few seconds of staring at each other, I reached down and cranked the propane fire as high as it would go. The fire pit shot off a good-sized flame, and it was enough to shift the cougar's attention away from me, and it trotted off into the night. I sat for a minute in disbelief of the close encounter I just had before joining my girlfriend in a rooftop tent. The next morning, looking at the likely path of the cat, I realized it had come up right behind me without hearing it before passing through our camp. Overall, it was a pretty cool experience being that close to a wild cougar, but at the same time, I can't help but think about how vulnerable I was that night.
Yikes.
Yes, you were. We talk a lot about the spooky and the mysterious, but hearing like a real tangible, natural story in that same environment is the same essence.
Yeah. Especially at that last little detail there where he finds the next day that the cougar had come up from behind him and he never knew. It was there. Could have done anything to him.
Wild animals are monsters.
Yeah, especially big ones.
They will kill you. Cougars kill people.
Yeah.
Bears kill people. They're real life monsters.
This is a true point.
Yeah, they aren't considering what plans you have later in the day.
And you can't argue with them.
No.
There's no reason.
Hey, man, just relax.
Yeah. Hey, wait. I don't want any trouble.
Unless you have a weapon or for fire. There's no reasoning with them.
Thank God he had that propane. And also, thank God, what a cool thing. I want one of these, a rooftop tent. Imagine he means for like a car.
Yeah.
That's cool to have if you're in an area where you do have animals like that.
Yeah, when you're up there, not when you're down on the ground level.
All right.
That reminds me of Brian's story.
Brian.
We did it on the show.
Brian's story. Oh, dude.
Brian H.
Oh, yeah. Was that last season? It was a while ago.
When it was, but he had a cougar walking around his tent in the middle of the night.
Oh, that's right.
He had a gun with him and was ready to fire. And he was with his girlfriend. They were just camping in the woods. And it was terrifying for him.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to figure out if you need to kill this thing.
Right.
If it's going to pounce on you in the middle of the night.
And what happens if you miss or make it angry?
Yeah. It's not as dangerous as like a grizzly, obviously, but you're probably going to survive if you have a gun.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, wild animals are just freaky.
It's funny, I saw a YouTube short not too long ago. The text on it was like, cougar surprised me while camping, fired 3 warning shots at it or something. And I watched the clip. I was like, you missed it. You weren't firing warning shots. Because it's like just barely missing this cougar.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no way those are warning shots. But yeah, terrifying, man, to be in that situation.
Yeah, for sure. I was watching gorillas fight today.
Each other?
Well, yeah.
No, men. Gorillas versus men
in a rink.
Gorillas, like legitimate silverbacks.
No, I know what you mean.
Chris was asking, were they fighting other gorillas or what else would they be fighting?
I don't know. Antelope?
Well, I saw on a YouTube video a short clip of gorillas going at each other, and I was like, that was insane. And so I was like looking up gorilla fights, and I didn't find any good ones, to be honest. It was like chimps fighting other, like I couldn't find any because silverback gorillas are insane, dude.
Yeah.
Those things are crazy. But I couldn't find them actually, the clip that I had saw.
You want them on demand.
No, I just didn't. I wondered if it was an actual like legitimate clip or.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're much more rare, aren't they? Silverbacks?
Yeah.
Especially in the wild.
In the wild, yeah.
Just ask Tim Curry.
I mean, but silverbacks are just monstrous creatures as well.
Yeah.
I love wild animals. I just think they're so awesome.
Gorillas, silverbacks in particular, or is it gorillas? No, I guess gorillas in general, one of the first cryptids. Did you know that? Gorillas in general were thought to be mythological creatures.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. They're very shy, aren't they? I mean,
they're very shy and very remote. And then I don't remember what century. I want to say it was like the 1800s where they had accounts of these in like, crazy, just like you see old drawings of lions that aren't quite accurate. But they had these gorillas and they would bring them back to, Western civilization and be like, these things are out there. And people are like, nah, it's not a real animal.
1902.
Not that long ago.
Was the discovery of the mountain gorilla subspecies.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
A lot of animals like that. So things are out there that we just haven't found.
Look how far we've come in that amount of time.
Yeah.
Like literally 120 years. Like we all live like kings in our technological prisons. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's so strange. So strange if you compare 1920 to the 300 years before that, compare that to where we are now from that period.
We definitely got a hold of some alien technology along the way.
For sure. Yeah.
That's my thought.
Too bad we don't use it better.
That's not true. We use it very well.
Well, we use it well, but we could be using it better for sure.
No, it depends on the person. It depends on the situation. But the Belief Hole uses it pretty well. We bring new...
Oh, yeah. No. I mean, like, I feel like there are, speaking of like reverse engineered stuff, I feel like there's stuff that not the public's not given access to. That
You're
could
talking about like free
yeah.
energy and stuff? I mean, we have access to... think about, we literally have Star Trek receivers in the palm of our hand. We can know anything we want at any moment in time, anywhere.
Right.
It's kind of crazy.
No, for sure. I just mean, yeah, you know what I mean. I meant like, too bad we don't use it better, as in like, obviously there's going to be a drawback to everything that we get that's great.
It doesn't matter if we had free energy, there's always a double-edged sword.
Well, that's what I mean about the technology we have now. Like that Star Trek receiver in your hand can be not great.
Yes, for sure. I see what you're saying, but it is dependent on the situation.
Yeah, for sure.
And the user.
It just depends on how you want to focus your energy, Chris.
That's why you need to get out there and camp.
Yes.
With a buddy. With a buddy.
Good ending. Good tie-in.
Thank you. Always looking for those tie-ins.
I know. You're good at that.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. This was a lot of fun for us. Camp Creepily is officially an anthology.
Yes.
This is edition 5, and 6 will be coming up later this season. And I think we should celebrate this growing anthology by, I don't know, maybe having a special,
go on.
a little special thing. A little special
It's
thing.
pretty vague, Jeremy.
How about the word escapes me. Think.
Sandwich?
A shirt.
A shirt.
A limited run shirt?
A limited edition from our brand new merch store.
Oh, I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yes. Are you guys ready for a new line of Belief Hole merch? How about the first line, really?
We've only been talking about it for months and months and months.
We have the designs. We have the
times.
Camp Creepily.
We're going to have other designs that are coming out, but shortly after the release of our first line of new Belief Hole merch shirts. Later on, I'm excited to do these kind of limited edition anthology, Camp Creepily 6 edition available for a limited period. Collector, it would be kind of fun to have, So keep your eyes out for that. Thanks to everyone who's been interested. And, also guys, if you're not on Discord, join the Discord.
Yes!
It is a lot of fun. You can submit stories there. There's all kinds of great channels in the Discord.
Other Belieflings are in there. We're in there on the off hours a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Link in the show notes.
We'll have an invite link in the show notes, and we'll have that in there going forward on the description of every episode so you guys can easily access it.
Well, guys, we hope we see you in the expansion.
Yeah. We do have some special people to thank.
Oh, do we?
We do.
That we do.
And we do have a very special, beautiful member of the whole. We have a Skywell writer.
Yes!
Today.
Nice.
And her name is Larissa Broken Rope.
Larissa.
Ooh, I like that.
almost feel like there needs to be a rope snap with that sky
Oh,
whale.
we'll put this rope snap in.
Sky Whale Rider! Sky Whale Rider!
Sounds like the sky whale's being whipped. Poor sky whale. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Larissa.
Thanks, Larissa. We appreciate you.
You are amazing.
Deeply.
Yes!
So deep.
You know, when I have a question about the paranormal, I always ask Larissa because Larissa explains it all to me.
Wow.
Oh boy.
Thank you.
90s. Remember the 90s?
Man, I forgot about that show.
Sincerely, thank you for the generosity, Larissa. We super, super appreciate it. You are a freaking hero.
I was an Alex Mack boy. Get in that goop.
Are you guys ready to get into our other members of the whole?
Beautiful people.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, starting off with a fellow who you guys may not have heard of, a mystery man of the whole who's been donating as a shadow person for a year without even asking us for access to the expansion. Eric Hawkins, if you're out there, my sweet, sweet friend.
Ooh, Eric Hawkins, a legend among men.
I emailed you access, so please check your inbox, and thank you for being a shadow person of interest. You rock star. Yes, he is. A lady legend that I'm very familiar with, and you are too, because you've heard some of her stories on the show, or at least one so far. Kaylee Crow is flying down into the hole.
Nice.
Kaylee Crow.
We got 2 birds in a row.
One of my personal favorites out there is not myself, but Miranda Self.
Oh, yeah.
She is a Dogman Whisperer, John. Give her one of those. Real sweetheart support the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for being Miranda.
Miranda Selfless.
Hi from the whole, April Peterson.
April Peterson.
What is up, you little lady? We are happy you're here.
You're my favorite month.
Very happy.
Spring sunny shine. Ragapunk.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes!
Ragapunk.
Dogman Whisperer in the house, scratching at the door.
Making his presence known.
Or hers.
Or her. Yes. It could be a girl.
Sincere welcome, Ragapunk. Welcome to be here.
Yes. Dustin Schmitz.
Yes.
He's a man that really fits in the expansion.
Hi, guys.
Welcome in, Justin. Beautiful boy. Yay! That sounded weird.
Okay. Beautiful boy.
Beautiful man.
Justin, you hero. Welcome to be here, sir.
Yes.
Becky Martin is a Dogman Whisperer.
Starting it off. Becky Martin starting something in the
That's
hole.
right. Start our hearts.
Yes.
Thank you, Becky.
Do you think that when Becky plays her Martin guitar, Nelly Santana likes it because Santana's a band?
Welcome to be here, Nelly
Yes.
Santana. Give her guitar lead.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nelly.
Good job.
Another Dogman Whisperer howling just outside the hole.
Howling at the moon.
Simona Xiao,
Xiaoza.
which I probably did not pronounce right, but welcome, Simona.
Yes.
We're happy to have you.
Welcome to be here.
Yes.
Theodora Jones.
Thank you for having
All
us.
right.
What is up? You sound like a detective in a ladies' detective novel, solving crimes.
She is super cool. I know this gal. She is a cool gal.
Oh, you know Theodora. Nice.
I do.
Welcome, Theodora.
You are loved.
Thanks for being a Dogman Whisperer.
Yes.
All right. You may not have liked President Bush, but I heard Ronald Reagan got pretty randy because it's Randy Reagan in the hole.
Welcome in. Welcome in, sir.
Hi, guys.
Sorry for the political references. that's what popped in my head, but
Hello.
we are happy to have you, Randy.
I was so offended.
You freaking Dogman Whisperer. Give him a howl. All right.
Rewind the clock because it's Mike Ock.
Sitting on the dock.
There you go.
Wait a minute. I get it now.
Oh, wait. We can't read that.
Mike
Mike
Ock.
Unless we really space it
We're
out.
separating those names in case he's a real person.
I didn't get that. You think you're clever? You think you snuck one on us, didn't you?
Kind of did.
Mike.
Well, you did.
Well, we respect you anyway because you're supporting us. Big John the Bear Hansel. What's up, Jay Hans?
The bear.
Yes.
Jay
Happy to have you in the hole, my friend. Jay Hansel. Or I guess it's Big John. Big John Hansel.
Hansel. It reminds me of that. What's that movie called?
Hansel and Gretel?
No, Hansel.
Oh,
with
with Will Ferrell?
Zoolander?
what's that guy's
I said
name?
Bill. I was gonna say Bill Steiner.
Hans. He's like the model.
Ben Stiller.
Yeah, Ben Stiller.
Bill
But
Steiner.
Hansel. What's that guy's name?
Yeah,
that was-
Hansel. He was like the. Or no, that was Owen Wilson.
That Hansel's so hot right now.
Owen Wilson. Yeah.
Hansel.
Good movie.
He was like the new guy in this, the new model on the street
Yeah.
that everyone loved. Such a good movie.
Yes.
Derelict. But yes. Thank you, Big John.
You are a teddy bear.
You are. Sweet fella.
Serenity now.
We need Serenity now, and she is here. She is in the hole. Serenity. Yes! Calming us with her bright, sunny stare.
Making the whole a pleasant place to live.
Yes.
Next we have Symbalistica period. Welcome, Symbalistica period. I don't know if that was a username confusion or what, but I'm guessing there's a Bailey in there. Sim Bailey. STSC period. Welcome, you strangely named Dogman Whisperer, hero of the hole. Thank you, sincerely.
Erica, day by day.
Ooh, Erica Day. She's been around for a while. Must have increased her tier to the Black-Eyed Cool Kid.
Welcome to be here.
Erica Day, you are one special lady.
Sincere thanks, Erica.
Welcome to be here.
You make every night sweet, Erica Day. Thank you.
Thanks for sticking with us. All right, Taylor Boozer's in the house, guys.
Don't be a loser. It's Taylor Boozer.
Pop the top, pull one back,
Pop the top.
and cheers to Taylor.
Cheers to you, Taylor.
Peter Mater has upgraded to a Dogman Whisperer, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God, it's so good.
Oh, Johnny got real excited there. Yikes.
Yikes.
Peter, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Sam Sprankle. No, wait, Adam Tafoya.
Adam Tafoya.
I like that.
That is an interesting name. Welcome, Adam.
It's hard to rhyme. Tafoya.
Tafoya. I was trying to think of that too. Tafoya. I got nothing. You cannot rhyme that name.
Doesn't annoy you. Because he's a good guy. Thank you, Adam. Either way, you're the first man in the Garden of Eden, and you're the first man in my heart.
Yeah. Sam Sprankle.
All right.
Is a Dogman Whisperer.
I like a little sauce on that.
Sprinkle me cinnamon, Sam.
Sprinkle it on us, Sam. Sprinkle your support. We sincerely appreciate it, my friend.
Yes.
Not to be undone or outdone is Native Nightmares, another Dogman Whisperer.
Spooky.
Native Nightmares. Give them a howl.
Google that. I wonder if it's a podcast. Google it
If
up.
you have Native Nightmares, let us know and send them in.
All nightmares are native to you. And finally for today, welcome in
Laura Arciak.
Yay!
What's that? Laura. I said that weirdly.
Laura R. Siak. Welcome
Yes.
in, Laura. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Laura. Laura
Yes.
Arciak.
Yes.
But yeah. See you later.
That's going to be it.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will catch you next time on Believable.